Dear Venerable Sister and Brothers, Dhamma friends, today also we are going to start our question and answer session. So, as usual, we will start with the written questions and make the invitation open for any other question or suggestions available. So, kindly invite Sarat to present the questions, please.
Most Venerable Bhante, during today's walking meditation, I had a thought that while turning period, we have to close our senses. The final goal is actually to open them all to the whole spectrum of phenomena and to process them in a mindful way. So to become an ideal receiver, transmitter. Is that right?
The final statement, when it is critical, it is not to become ideal receiver is the final goal. Not to become ideal receiver is not the final game. We have to understand, by receiving we are receiving suffering. By receiving, we are receiving troubles. So therefore, all the things if you are going to receive, that may be unwanted amount of suffering and frustration and tension. There is a certain amount, middle way, we can't cut off beyond that point also. So we have to, not ideal receiver, we must try to balance with the minimum amount of receiver, and not to become too much, too little. So therefore, please try to adjust that final statement. And the early part of the question is, as far as all the 6 doors, all the 6 institutes are working, very difficult to keep an account on one particular one. That is why on the experimental basis, you keep open the one institute that is called bodily transaction or bodily tactile sensation, and that is what very easy for the beginner. And once you develop certain amount of mindfulness and kind of a connection with this bodily tactile sensation, you slowly increasing other challenges or other receptors together with efficient mindfulness, improving mindfulness. Otherwise, if you are going to start with all the 6 sense doors open, it will be too much for the beginner. So therefore you start with Kaya Anupassana, that is body tactile sensation. With that you catalyze the mindfulness, and once the mindfulness come into certain amount of strength, momentum, acceleration, then you become slowly open to the sensations, feelings, and then you slowly open to the whole mental activities, and then last stage is seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, all the kind of thing. So therefore, at the beginning, one thing at a time, and that done well, and once the other faculties such as faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration and the energy increases, it is nothing you to open it, this is natural opening happens. So therefore, closing the senses is not for your whole life. This is on an experimental basis, till you develop certain amount of mindfulness, till you develop certain amount of equilibrium and proficiency or efficiency, then naturally it will open. But the final aim is not to get not to become efficient receiver, but you have to understand we must need certain amount of stimuli, but too much bombarding is the matter, simple or proximate cause for our frustration, consumerization, and the luxurious use ultimately end up with suffering. So therefore, both the statements we have to keep it open and keep on practice while practicing your own interpretation to these two aspects will be gradually changing.
Venerable Sir, thank you very much for your beautiful and encouraging sermon yesterday. I feel that the pain and the suffering I underwent during last few years just to grasp what is meditation is not wasted, because your sermon implied that dedication and sacrifice is part of meditation. If I am wrong, please correct me. Also, you mentioned that desired and undesired feelings are common both in samatha and vipassana. And there is another kind of feeling which is no pleasure, which occurs due to ignorance. Is it upekha? Is repetitive application the only source of mental equilibrium?
The aspects mentioned, or the information mentioned regarding the no pain, no pleasure kind of feeling, of course we have to use the term feeling, it is not due to ignorance. Usually we are ignorant towards that because we are chasing behind the pleasure principle. The whole meditation on feeling is to recognize the pleasure as pleasure, pain as the pain, and after bookkeeping, you will understand majority of the area you can't recognize as a pleasure or pain. So you have to introduce another term, no pain, no pleasure, or not desirable, no undesirable. So once you recognize and done with pain and the pleasure, only you will see majority of the time you are not in a pleasure, not either pleasure, no pain. So you have to recognize that area which is not come under the label of pain and the pleasure, consider as a no desire, not undesirable, that's so no pain, no pleasure. And moment you understand it, that means opposite of ignorance, you will see that is the area where there is no tension. That's the area where there is no frustration. But we are ignorant to it because fanatically we are chasing behind the pleasure. Once you come up to that, you will call, as far as the feeling is concerned, it's a kind of equilibrium or equanimous situation, and more you try to be with it, recognize with it, and appreciate with it, you will find that is, you feel like at home, if you are in your correct perspective of your thinking. Otherwise, you may feel boring, you may feel monotonous, you feel lost, you feel like outcasted, you feel like uncertain, because basically due to the pleasure principle. Recognize the pleasure principle as pleasure principle, pain as pain, pleasure as pain, pleasure. And moment you understand no pain, no pleasure, you may comes to know whether you are in the day-to-day activities or in the walking meditation or in sitting meditation or you back at home in the normal time. This is most of the time it is available, but you can't see. Just like when you are looking at the night sky, you may see the stars and the moon, but hardly you will notice the darkness or space between stars. But you can imagine the proportion, how much darkness and the space available with respect to the little bit of stars and the moon, exactly the same. Our pain and pleasure accountable may be less than 5% of your time. Most of the time, maybe 95%, you are in no pain, no pleasure. If you are ignorant, you are in suffering. If you are aware of it, it's a reason to be glad. Very nicely that is being presented by Sister Dhammajiva in the Chullavedala Sutta. And the meditation is nothing gain. You just recognize, you comes to know this is the middle path. So far I was ignorant about that because my mind is fanatic on pleasure principle. Moment you comes to know no pain, no pleasure, Nothing you earn, only your perspective towards the no pain, no pleasure, and appreciation of the very no pain, no pleasure, you comes to know, you become more and more spiritual. You become more and more at home. You feel more and more less and less tension and the frustration, and ultimately, easily you can make a motto or objective. Try to be there in the no pain, no pleasure state, and try to increase it if possible. And that is what happens as you keep on practicing. Pleasure is there, but it is insignificant and the quantity also reducing. Pain is there, it is insignificant as well as quantity is less, so you are increasing no pain, no pleasure. So ultimately you find you are less agitated, less controlled by remote controllers, you often at home. So that part, the increasing of no pain, no pleasure situation take a lot of time. In a retreat, what we only expect is to introduce this, or to awaken into just, or to make your mind in the correct perspective. Try to recognize this no pain, no pleasure, not as a boredom, not as a monotonous situation, or it's a kind of a loneliness. It's recognized, try to as a aloneness, or recognize it as a solitude, or recognize it as a contentment, or recognize it as a peace of mind. And ultimately you will come to understand, when and where you are in no pain, no pleasure, you love yourself, you are compassionate to yourself, you are developing loving kindness to yourself, and then we can say you are living. Otherwise you are dreaming, or you are living in a dream. So when and where this is happening, then it is not something Buddha given to you or Dhamma given to you, but it is highlighting and awakening you into this situation, and then onward your way of life, your Samma Ajiva, your way of life will be more and more very innocent, and try to be happy and try to be contented here and now. When and where no pain, no pleasure happen, you feel secure. You are not exploiting others. You are not with the too much of expectation and end up with disappointments. The no pain, no pleasure is a walkover. It's not something to earn by fighting. It's a walkover, and you are not defeating anyone. So there won't be any envious situation. You are not hilariously happy. There's nothing. It is not a fight. So that walkover only available for human. No for animals, no for other lowly beings, or no for the higher celestial beings, unless otherwise you get the basic Montessori class in the human realm. Then only they can go there and do advanced level classes. But this is the plane, you can introduce it and develop it. So therefore, this is the way we can explain the least frictional part with respect to feelings. There are a lot of other ways. This is with respect to feelings.
Venerable Bhante, thank you very much for the sermon yesterday. It solved all my wrong thinking. I thought it is my karma that I couldn't meditate, though we have all the comforts. Now I think I can go through with it. Last night I realized I can identify my breath. Earlier I didn't feel anything. Thank you again.
So I also would say thank you, and we'll go to the next question.
Venerable Bhante, when I am meditating in the sitting position, I get pain in my knees. Before the pain gets unbearable, I change the position without breaking my sati. In this way, I can continue the meditation and reach the empty space and remain there for quite a while. Is this practice correct, or should I remain in one position throughout the session, enduring the pain as much as possible? Theruvan sir.
It's a huge vacuum, huge lacunae, that is to say, till you get the knee pain unbearable, what is your primary object, and where do you to what you advert your mind till the brain problem happens is the crux of our report. That is not there. So I would invite that particular person who has written to come out and say, till this problem of pain arises, we'll say a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, where was your mind and what is your primary object?
Venerable Bhante, I can feel the breath. Before I come to the pain, I can feel the breath, and while the breath is still there, I feel the pain in my nail.
No, the criminal you have done, or the mistake you have done, is that you are not mentioning your primary object. So your whole case is lost. It will not taken to the court. You are a meditator being so here itself, so you must understand, you must say, I sit and start at the breath and I find the breath, and while I am observing the breath I got the pain, then I will give the full marks. You start with negative. I have to ask again and again the question to get the thesis before antithesis. So this must be a, how do you call, basic approach in our material life. Don't talk about mistakes, at least at the beginning. In Sinhala it is called muspentu. I don't know how to put it in English. Don't talk, just talk. This is my sitting meditation. My basic primary object is this. So while I am keeping the primary object, this is the in-breath, I noted as in-breath, this is it appears. And this is the out-breath, and this I noted as out-breath, this is appearing. While I am going, I feel the pain. And then you are explaining, presenting your thesis with respect to the primary object. Otherwise you are waiting for the pain happens, and that is the point you start. So this is the positive way, this is a positive thinking. You must understand, always take the refuge of the primary object or the mindfulness. Or instead of the primary object in breath and out breath, you can take the sitting posture. So you can start with, write at least few sentences to introduce the primary object and how was the experience or face-to-face with primary object before the distraction happened. Then the person who is listening is ready to understand and be on the correct perspective. If you are going to start with the pain, your whole essay is full of hatred. So you must be killed, must be punished. So this is one part. One thing is meditation, other thing is theoretical understanding. Next is the presentation. That indicates who you are. So whenever you, before the presenting, always try to develop the sakko, the positive thinking. That means start with the primary object. When and where primary object is face to face, and you can make some positive statements, and then you can introduce. And even then, don't fill your whole essay full of complaints. You can, if it is happening to me, if I am to present, I would say, at the beginning I feel the pain, still I can see the in-breath and out-breath. While I am keep on struggling at a time, while observing the in-breath and out-breath, I found pain is overwhelming me, and therefore my mind went to the pain as the main object so that I can't see in-breath and out-breath. Or you may say, I can see in-breath and out-breath here and there, but the majority is pain. It is torturing, it is burning, it is piercing, or whatever may be. So if you can keep touch, and if you can see through the breath, so much so, take this as the theme. And ultimately it develops so much of immunity, so much of perspective to your life, and you see not a single object can destroy your mindfulness. Not a single object can completely destroy your primary object. Only thing is, it can be distracting, it can be putting the attention outwardly, but still your presentation, your Thesis, always you see, not through the negative aspect, but for the positive aspect. So, you are the winner.
One thing, my problem is, like, breath is always there, but before the pain becomes unbearable, I change my position, and then with sati, so that I can continue my meditation and come to even to up to the empty space. So that is my thing to say, right?
That is a different case. I will apply another name and give another file for you, another case. But basically when you are presenting, don't talk about these negative things. Just mention what is the primary object and then now I can understand the point. Even no harm, as far as you know, if you wish, you can still keep on with the pain, some little more. One day you will do as well that also. So this all come under the noble quest. You can change the posture 1 minute before the culminating point and do you very slowly, mindfully, and you can see, again you can go to the breath, and breath is in dwindling shape or disappearing, tapering off, and ultimately you can go to the silence. Or you can wait till the unbearable state happen, and then you can do in a slowly manner, then mind become very agitated, and even then mindfulness may or may not be shaken. So, as far as you keep the mindfulness in forefront and keep the due respect to the primary object, all the thing you do, it come under the experiment. You are the winner. But if meanwhile, if you are losing the primary object and you do not know, and you are not mindful, you do not know, then utter failure. So therefore, these things are detailed, and one day, even this discussion never to take place and there is no person to present your case, your mind one day will see, one day will think, what about going to the unbearable level? So likewise, other options also may come into that. So don't try to be critical on these kind of things. They are minor, not much important issues. Important issue is, before you go into the unbearable level or at the unbearable level, you change and you know what is to be maintained, mindfulness. So much so you are in the correct perspective. And anything you can do, and the Buddha is encouraging you to play hell there. Do all kind of combinations. No harm. Because you know what to maximize, what to keep intact. What is the experience you are counting. Either you take the mindfulness on the primary object or mindfulness as such. Then you can see it's a huge opening. You are really experimenting with your life. You are really experimenting with your body. And if the Buddha is going to be here, he will say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Or from the distance, he will say you are really experimenting with your life.
Dear Venerable Sir, in the past, when I meditated, I would experience a bright white light in my mind. It was not a torch or headlights or the sun. I thought this was a nimitta, so I always let it go. I never let it develop or just be. Now I have no white light. Please explain, did I do something wrong? Is the white light a nimitta or samadhi? Much merit to you for your advice.
It is. If you are following a samatha method or tranquility and the calmness kind of meditation, the white light generally indicates lack of defilements in your mind. Or undefiled mind is represented as a light. The light, the brightness and the color combination changes from the darkness to light through the spectrum. And slowly you be with the white light. That indicates you observe your mind without defilements or rather hindrances. But soon it can be fallen again back to the defilement and the white light will disappear. And when and where the faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration and energy, wisdom with get aligned, again the white light can happen. When and where, it is the one aspect. The other aspect is, when and where someone is practicing meditation, for the first time, anyone to come across the white light, it's a very hilarious, it is very oceanic to feel, whether he or she is having a theoretical knowledge or not. But when it is happening the second time, third time, fourth time, the thrills and frills are reducing because of the familiarity. So sometimes it is coming, but even then it is not going to give so much of thrills and frills because of the familiarity. Therefore, sometimes appear like my mind is not concentrated like earlier, my mind is not aligned and mindful like earlier, because you see white light, but it is not appealing, it is not so bright. Maybe due to the intermingle with the defilement, or due to the familiarity, its frills and thrills are reducing. But from the vipassana point of view, whenever such a thing happens, we can say easily, these are distraction, these are make you eccentric, and you cut off the connection with the primary object, and you get attracted to the light, and that itself is a distraction. So therefore, anything happen on the vipassana, it's a bright light or darkness, it says, my main business is to keep the connection with the primary object. Main business is to keep the intact with the mindfulness. So therefore, whether it's appearing increasing way or decreasing way, you are not much worried about the detail of the nimitta appearing. So these are the two kinds of approaches in the samatha method, considered somewhat as a good omen, a lack of defilements or lack of hindrances. But in the vipassana, maybe, but even on that, don't proliferate thinking, don't keep on brooding upon them. Instead, try to maintain the mindfulness on your primary object or mere mindfulness. So therefore, it appears like a nuisance. And whenever it go extremes, some people, they love so much of vipassana and they become eccentric on that idea. So for such a person, when the white light appears, they hate it, thinking now mind is going to samatha, so I am going to entrap in this samatha jhana, please pull me back, don't let the white light happen, like they develop phobia. That's also not a balanced way. The light is an indication that mind is not much mixed with hindrances. But don't make it an attraction or distraction. Don't make it a point to be glad or hate, likings and disliking. Just see meanwhile how much I can maintain the mindfulness, how much I can keep the connection with the primary object, or simply how much I can be aware that I am still sitting. This is the way you make use it for the advancement or the betterment of you. So, from a vipassana point of view, this is not a significant or critical change. Always try to keep the mindfulness intact, continue toward the mindfulness, and accessibility to the primary object. Then appearing object won't make much of a importance. And basically we can, vipassana, as an advice of the vipassana, we can say, don't make stories, don't fabricate this and that with the appearing thing on the way. Your main subject, main connection must be with the primary object, and they may come and go. Don't develop likings or disliking, just try to keep up with the primary object and the mindfulness. Then these things won't make any much of a fussy, they make much of a problem. So otherwise you may be either worrying or proliferating thinking or storytelling, fabrications. These all come under defilements. So don't worry about the light, keep the connection with the primary object or continue to have the mindfulness.
Dear Venerable Thero, when I meditate, just like it was told yesterday by another yogi, just like it was said yesterday by another yogi, My head angles and I feel tightness in neck muscle. After some time like this, I experience my forehead heating up. Is it a good sign or simply my blood vessels getting blocked? Thero
Whatever may be good or bad, whatever may be, let the body knowledge to tackle it. Don't get involved mentally. So I have to introduce the term body knowledge. Our body consists of cells. Each and every cell contain the DNA, RNA. They are data banks. They know what is the symmetry, what is the not in symmetry. So therefore pain is an indication you are not in symmetry. Ask the body to mind its own business. Don't try to do it. Don't try to not to do it. Just be aware. Now balance is not there and it is represented by a pain. And pay the attention to the pain and body will correct it. Don't rush to do corrections or don't make a mind to not to do corrections. Just give the task to the body knowledge. And it's an enormous amount of knowledge. Each and every person is a data bank because in Indian literature it is called Akash library. This library is enormous if you just give the task to it. And instead if you are going to ask someone or if you are going to have rational thinking, never you derive the healthy answer. Healthy answer is coming from the body. So therefore just consult the body or body knowledge and you take relationship with the primary object. And in other way we can say, while I feel the neck pain, still I can be mindful or I cannot. Or when I feel pulsation in somewhere, still can I be mindful or not. That is the important thing as far as the adverting of the mind is concerned. But when the pain happens, just don't give any restriction. Ask the body to correct itself and use the body knowledge. Amazing, it will take the responsibility and correct it. And then you find the balance. You find the equilibrium or symmetry or equilibrium, and then very easy for you to focus the attention to the primary object.
Venerable Bhante, when I do my sitting meditation, my mind always touching in-breath and out-breath, same as rising and falling of the stomach. I didn't do it intentionally. Automatically it happens. Is it okay, or if it is incorrect, please guide me in the correct way.
So how much you are vigilant, how much you are diligent to that process indicates your advancement. If you wish to make it more immediate, more diligent, more vigilant, just see the in-breath right from the beginning through the middle to the last drop to the end. So that is how you give the full attention. Otherwise you see just the tip of the iceberg. You never see the whole berg underwater. So when and where you try to see the just beginning of the in-breath and the just end of the in-breath, you find these two ends are very mystical. In the middle it is tangible, it is gross and everything, but the very beginning, something arising out of nothing. At the end, everything dissolves into nothing. So just be aware, the beginning and the end, but don't try to do it before you before you familiarize into the in-breath and out-breath. Just let it familiarize in the normal way as mentioned there. And when and where you see breath is face to face, and if you have any doubt, am I in the correct path, is this samatha or vipassana, many doubts can happen. Under such circumstances, you so advert your mind not to the breath as such, but the beginning of the breath, and through the middle to the end of the breath, and you may find it's a recharging of your battery like, because the beginning is so challenging, so mystics, so much between the have and not have. End also exactly the mystical, try to see it. When you are observing, your mindfulness must be thoroughly alive. You can't do it in the half-hearted way. So that is how you increase the sensitivity. And when and where that going to happen, you can see more and more you observe in that manner, the object become closer and closer and closer to the observing mind, and the sensitivity, the beginning which unperceivable if you are unprepared. When you go prepared, such unperceivable situation you can perceive. This is how the sharpness increases. So this is a kind of a alignment, kind of a coming all the energies into one agreement, and ultimately that skill go beyond the human capacity, go beyond the human seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and sixth sense going to start, not the sensory perception, extrasensory perception going to start, beginning of seeing, beginning of hearing, beginning of smelling, touching, in-breath, out-breath, everything is mystics. If you know one aspect, easily you can apply to the other things. That is the point where energy become matter. At the end of the breath, the matter become energy. It is happening in darkness, happening in ignorance. It happening is no pain, no pleasure situation. So our whole effort is to shed light onto that when and where time permits and the situation is mature enough, and just observe the beginning and the end. Ultimately, you may find a hell of a difficulty how to express it, because our language is not capable, not rich enough to express it. But you feel like exploring into it. Deep into that, ultimately object become magnetized into the primary object, the observing mind. So to say, object and the mind merges each other, hug each other, and it is something like samatha jhana. That is the way the samatha jhana is explained. The object and the observing mind, they come closer, more and more it come closer. Electromagnetic field become very, very sensitive, high tension. Ultimately they merge each other. An observing mind and the observed object both become energy, and your self, ego disappears, expressibility disappears, conceit disappears, desire disappears. Ultimately it becomes mere experience. So now this in meditation is now preparing for that state. So therefore facilitate in order to experience it in a vigilant and diligent way.
Venerable Bhante, this matter is regarding my sitting meditation. Yesterday I had an unbearable pain in my knee. I tried to look at it, and I saw through my muscles and bones. Then I found the place the pain is spreading. Then I found the place where the pain is spreading. Suddenly the pain has disappeared like a snake. I did it when the pain gave me the signal. But today I tried to do it and could not. Is that the Vedananupassana?
So there's two aspects. Unexpected way it appears. If you go prepared, it never appears, simply. This is the matter related to the pain, sleepiness, thinking, any kind of thing. If you go prepared, it will never be inflicting, never be a defilement. Unexpected you go, it comes. When and where it happens, you must know the strategy. You must know the ways and means how to tackle it. And once it is tackled, so much of pain, ultimately end up with so much of pleasure. If you have so much of struggle, so much of relaxation. So it is up to you. If you are a cowardly person, as and when the pain arises, you give up and go. So you will never see the juicy part, the sappy part, the pleasurable part of the meditation. So, but while practicing slowly, you are increasing. So, when and we are fighting with the pain, and you see through, on the other side, when you see huge pleasure or space, definitely you can say it is a kind of a Vedananupassana or contemplating on the pain. But the preparedness, you go there, pain never appears. So you are hesitant to call it as Vedananupassana, but definitely it is also Vedananupassana. So therefore, anything you see, it comes under your control. Anything you do not see, you become the slave. So vipassana is to see under your very nose, even the negative things, even the positive things, and you can't expect because things are happening due to its due cause and effect. So your ability or your perspective must be, don't go with expectation. When and where it happens, see through as much as possible. Don't think that you are to see through all the pains. No, not for the beginner. The whatever pain you feel digestible, you feel chewable, you feel go through like, and ultimately your immunity is slowly increasing. And sometimes when you go prepared, it will never happen. So both of them are accidents at the beginning. More and more you practice, situation comes slowly under control. Predictability increases when you keep on practicing regularly.
Venerable Dhammajiva Thero, I understand how thoughts about the past are based on regrets and thoughts about the future are based on desire and excitement. Please explain, is there a way to interpret thoughts on imagination? Are these also based on past or future? Much merit to you.
The second part, thought on imagination.
Please explain, is there a way to interpret thoughts on imagination? Are these also based on past or future?
So don't worry about these bloody thoughts. Then you are asking trouble. Worry about your primary object. Don't try to be a psychiatrist. These bloody fools, they don't know the present moment, so they are coming out with theses and theories, formulas. And poor fellows, our children, go and learn all the formulas without knowing the question. They know the theory, they know the answer. Unapplicable. So if you are going to explore and research on thoughts, I will say you better go to you have to go to the asylum. You are mad. You are asking trouble. Whenever it happens, tackle it. It is practical, pragmatic, under your very nose. Otherwise, my simple presentation is, be mindful and mind your own business. Be with the primary object. Don't try to step one step aside from the primary object. That means you are asking trouble. And enormously, we are sadists. We are masochists. They're always searching for suffering. Poor fellows. Always searching ways and means for suffering. And when and where mind is here and now, we feel boring. Not dramatic. Not eventful. So we keep on developing projects and engagements, and ultimately we make ourselves busy fellows. So therefore this orientation is wrong. Whenever there is no distraction, take the time, and it's very precious to be with the primary object, to be mindful. And when you are trying to be mindful, that question never can arise. How the thoughts happen and imagination happens, that's a kind of a promotion of thoughts, a promotion of imagination. Don't waste time. We don't have much of time for these kind of things.
Dear Bhante, this is a question about sitting meditation. During one of the sittings last night, the mind managed to stay continuously on the breath for a long time without interruption. Then 3 emotions arose sequentially: First boredom, then anger, then frustration. The anger and frustration were towards the individual, in and out breaths, which I felt were escaping me, just when I managed to get a hold of them. There was a sense of failure for not being able to retain the breath. Should I proceed with the practice as now, or should I change something?
This is the starting of incoming of the information, the boredom and the frustration and the hate, all are based on hatred. So therefore, to make a general statement, when and where you are not in the present moment, you are searching for information, whole worldly knowledge is nothing but hatred. If you are here and now, you need no any news, you need no any information, and everything you know. Anyone who do not appreciate here and now, future planning and regret of the past, and that is called the theoretical knowledge or worldly knowledge, loki jnana, and therefore loki jnana is completely based on hatred. Nothing based on the loving kindness or nothing based on the neutrality, because loving kindness and neutrality is to bring here now, no theory, no formulas. And when and where your mind is hateful, it is searching something better. That is how the research happens. So therefore, understand, when and where mind is contemplative on one single object, it is becoming relinquished or undesire of the object happens. Whenever mind is not mindful, the desire, craving and possession is the matter. When the meditation happens, lack of desire and no possessing power, and therefore to outlook it appear like a hatred. It takes long time for you to understand viraga, and viraga means non-attractiveness. It's the manifestation of meditation. The beginner read this as boredom, read this as monotony, so therefore hatred can happen. Therefore commentators exegese this is, imagine that kind of a state without hate, it's a bliss. That's a bliss. That uninstructed person or unprepared person, as far as it is not attractive, a distraction can happen, because mind is with the hate base. If you imagine you remove the hate base and see attractiveness is reduced due to the meditation, it is not a distraction, lack of attraction, so that is a bliss. You can understand how effectively the tanha, the desire, is reducing. So therefore at the nibbida jnana, that means relinquishment as a knowledge, you are changing from the hate base to the neutral base. Then your knowledge becomes first-hand experience, because you go prepared. That preparedness never happen without errors. You have to do trial and error, and whenever the boredom happens, whenever the hatred or lack of attractiveness or distraction happens, understand the hate base. If you can understand the hate, then you can see you have to, your energy is now not sweating kind or fighting kind, it must be backed by knowledge. There's a kind of exert is there, there's a kind of energy is there. It must be supported by knowledge, and just see, there's no reason, but mind create kind of a hatred. Mind create kind of a underlying tendency of the hatred, and if you till you see, it is also just like an object. Everything appear like very sour in taste. The moment you see everything happening under the due to this underlying tendency of the hatred, then it becomes sweet in taste. It is not a meditation, it's a perspective. It's a kind of a maturity. So therefore see these emotions, three colorations indicated. all as hatred, but hatred never appear as such. It works like a directed disposition or underlying tendency. So Buddha says, I can't help in that moment, you have to see it. Moment you see, you are no more the same person. You will be completely going through a metamorphosis, going through a kind of evolution. And not only the object, not only the emotion, you see what is under the carpet. You see the circuit, how the hatred is happening without much of a reason, because lack of desire. Lack of desire is a result of meditation. But the mind read it as hate, then the interpretation is completely wrong. Imagine you can interpret it without hate. Genius is a full of aesthetic, full of spirit. So you have to keep on practice.
Dear Bhante, please explain the primary object one should have for meditation. The second question, kindly explain again the comfort zone, non-comfort zone, and is there a middle zone? Third one, should one come back to the primary object after seeing the comfort zone and non-comfort zone? Thank you, Bhante, for explaining. Much appreciated.
The first part is?
Please explain the primary object one should have for meditation.
One should
have for meditation.
One should?
Please explain the primary object one should have.
One should have. Primary object is the here and now. If it is not clear, make your posture. You are sitting or walking or standing or lying down posture. So that's the primary object. I am very happy because many people, after doing 10 days of retreat, last day asked, Bhante, can you explain the primary object? After utter wasting of 10 days, on the way back asked, Bhante, can you explain please the primary object? So I don't know what was the time they spent here for 10 days. So therefore, philosophically be here and now. Or you can say, I am sitting here and now, I am walking here and now, I am standing here and now, I am lying down here and now. That's a primary object. That's what you call kaye kayanupasri virati yata yata va kayo panito hoti tata tatanam pajanati. Whatever may be the position of the body, you maintain the mindfulness accordingly. But if you wish to know further technically, in the sitting, while observing the sitting posture, you may see the rising and falling or in-breath and out-breath as a representative of your being. That is a technically you can still take, it's a much concentrated object than the bodily posture within the body, in-breath and out-breath. While walking, you can see the walking body, and meanwhile you can see the left leg touching the ground, right leg touching the ground. When you are stand still, you can see the pressure on your soul. Or when you are lying down, you can see how the touching point of your body on the ground. So this is what you call kayanupassana. We contemplate on the body on body. And the second thing is comfort zone. Comfort zone means effortless mind. Whenever you have any intention, whenever you have a determination, whenever you have future plan, that means tense. When there is no determination, no future plan, just be aware of the present moment, is the comfort zone. So try to keep it as much as possible, but at the beginning you must have some intentions. At the beginning you must have some volitional activities. At the beginning you must have a certain amount of determination to come here and sit. But after familiarize the situation, you can be here without much of effort. It will be very dramatic if I have to explain with respect to the walking meditation. When and where walking happen automatically, that we call the comfort zone in the walking meditation. When you are washing dishes, you know verily what you do without much of effort, then we can say washing dishes for the washing dish, to wash the dish. So that's called effortless. And when if you are a frequent driver, daily going to the job, morning 2 hours and evening 2 hours, like, you can see while you are driving, it is nothing conscious decisions. Everything is happening effortlessly. So you are in comfort zone. So don't try to see technical way, it is something sentimental. It is something you can feel. And other part of the, or opposite of the comfort zone is the regimentation. You try to be someone. Or you expect others to behave like that, so much so you are torturing yourself. You are crucified. And you have to understand, instead there is another zone called comfort zone. Effortlessly things are happening. You see, that comfort zone happen wherever you may be in a familiar places. You are in a season jobs. New things always you pull out of from the comfort zone. You feel little tense. So that is why the Buddha says, don't change the primary object. Don't change the timetable. Do it in a repetitive way. One day it will happen in a natural way. That is the point where you start to feel the comfort zone. What was the last part?
Should one come back to the primary object after seeing the comfort zone and non-comfort zone?
No, comfort zone and the primary object is the same. You only come to the primary object whenever you are in comfort zone. Otherwise, the distraction and you complain you can't see the primary object, or even if you see the primary object, you are full of doubts, you are full of expectations, or you are full of result-oriented, all destroy the comfort zone. So when and where you are at home and baby is on the mother's lap, then you are in comfort zone. So that was the case. Our life up to the age 6, we were in comfort zone. So don't think it's a very difficult thing to reach. No, we were there. And after 6, we gather knowledge, then the torturing started. Knowledge means torturing, knowledge means ignorance. You lose yourself. Till that you don't have knowledge, you are utterly with yourself. You don't know mother and you separate or single, one thing or not. You expect mother is part and parcel of me. So whenever you don't see the mother, you feel lost. And when the mother comes, everything is there. Later only you comes to know me and not me. That is what you call the basic knowledge. That's the point where the vijnana going to take duality. Utterly suffering, utterly frustration because of this knowledge. So therefore, whenever things are happening very smoothly, or you feel at home, then that is the primary object, because you are here and now, and you are in comfort zone. Don't try to pull back to the comfort zone or pull back to the primary object. They become coining each other when you are at the comfort zone. Okay, we have taken a little more than usual hours. We have about 45 minutes for walking meditation, and we'll be meeting again here at about 3 o'clock for a group sitting meditation. With that announcement, I would like to mark the end of the question and answer session. Thank you very much for participation.